The following podcast is scheduled for one fall with no time limit.
Super hot fire!
The greatest spectacle in podcast entertainment, Mr. Nestlemania.
That was literally verbal diarrhea. I'm setting the bar awfully low. Titus O'Neil keeps running directly into that bar. Get him off my TV, get him off my TV. You make me very angry.
The man who has a better IQ than you, the awe-inspiring JC.
You should go work for WWE because you'd be so up far up Vince's butt.
No.
Oh, you are such a sucker.
You
You
are.
defend everything, all the bad moves they make.
This is the Jobber Knocker Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the latest edition of the Jobber Knocker Podcast. As always, it's Nestlemania, and alongside for the ride is not JC. He's on vacation in Lobsterland. Today, we have a very special guest. I call him the cousin. I call him the grammar troll. He is the JoeStopper, Mr. Cruiserweight Report himself, Joe Pollock. Woo!
I would like to humbly thank you, Nestlemania, for that lovely, lovely introduction. The grammar troll. In case you didn't know. It's an honor. I've been working with you guys for a little bit over a year now with the Cruiserweight reports and just adding in dashes of flavor here and there with articles. And I got to say, this is a dream contributing on the podcast.
There you go. We're very excited to have you. Joe's usually the resident grammar troll, also the resident 205 guy. So it's interesting, especially with the little bit of flavor this week, we're going to be able to...
You just went 205 live on me.
I know I had to. That was for JC. JC's listening in Maine, probably looking red like a lobster. Anyway, look, we're getting in right into the shine. There's a lot going on this week. I'm curious, for me, when I was watching, I really enjoyed the beginning of Raw.
I was ready to hate the beginning of Raw. I have to say it reeked immediately of Monday Night Rerun. Shirts available at ProWrestlingTees.com.
Thank you. Cheap plug.
And there will be more to come because you're with the grammar troll here. So immediately I was thinking, I don't need to see another version of Lashley versus Strowman. Two guys, okay with their work. I'm more of a Lashley guy than a Strowman guy, but I just don't need to see this. I really think that Bobby Lashley could be presented as somebody to possibly take down Brock Lesnar.
Interesting. Okay.
In terms of legitimacy.
Okay.
Now, obviously, he cannot carry a mic whatsoever, and we are all waiting for the eventual return of Leo Rush. I'm not sure if it'll happen in this lifetime, but we'd like to think that it could. So here they are. They're coming out. I think this was a Falls Count Anywhere.
It was Falls Count Anywhere.
And you will realize this because with every single fucking pin attempt, Falls Count Anywhere, Falls Count Anywhere. Michael Cole, please stop. Please. Just let it breathe. Almost like my heart palpitations right now as I'm being on this podcast. But I was very pleased with the end result of this.
Yeah.
It didn't come to any sort of conclusion. This was definitely a Paul Heyman production. He let you know right away, we're not going to be the same kind of Raw, at least with the opening segment. And I appreciate this. There was no promo, just two guys walk out there, beat the fuck out of each other for a few minutes, and then we finally get some pyros, which we've been waiting for the last 2 years.
Clamoring. I saw you in the thread say, I don't care. It's pyro. It's pyro. But like, so I'm curious because this is a point of contention, not necessarily a crazy amount of contention, but it's something that I thought was interesting. So of course they go flying through the backboard of the LED. They go down pyro, 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 and then they go to this shot. This static shot. Now,
Yes.
I got some spirited discussion, I will say, because there's another person out there that was telling me that I was wrong, and maybe I am wrong. I did check with our resident production major guy that I will leave his name out, but so I'm curious what you thought, because for me, I thought this particular shot sold it for me. But I'm curious to see where your side is.
Now, I was watching this with my beloved All Red Everything. And yes, at Beth D. Paul 14. I know you're not on Twitter, but
Pop.
But yeah, there will be more to come. Trust me. So she normally will, take wrestling for what it's worth, and she'll, much like the Mighty Healer, she'll watch a couple matches here and there.
Yes. Yeah.
She really bought into the realism of this. Mm-hmm. That way back camera angle really brought it home for her because she was able to see all the doings backstage. And I mean, obviously, you and I are marks to a certain extent, but you're more versed in the wrestling world than I am. I know that pyros generally will not go off immediately after somebody crashes through an LED board.
It's a production. It's a television show.
Well, call me the production troll for the next 2 minutes.
There you go. So,
I really appreciated this. Some people will not like what happened afterwards with the announcers constantly bringing up, the well-being. And especially on SmackDown, I didn't really need to know the constant medical updates about.
Yeah, I'm sure JC would feel the same way. I'm sure he hates recaps. So do I. But yeah.
Well, that goes into a little bit later with my heaters. So I appreciated it. I can understand why some people would find it distasteful, especially considering that it's never too soon to forget about what happened with Owen Hart many years ago. That was one of the first pay-per-views I watched live, and it was. I really thought it was a work until later on that night.
Yeah,
and kudos to wrestlers who were able to work through that.
Yeah, I mean, it was a serious thing here and there, but I will say one thing specifically is just when I watched that angle, somebody on Twitter, we were having a discussion about it, and he was saying, it looks like it's an overproduced thing, that camera's not where a normal camera would be, and I'm just kind of looking at it from a different perspective. I've been in production for a very long time. A lot of the people on the Jobber Knocker are in production, so I'm curious to get Ray's thoughts, Josh's thoughts, even DQ's, and a bunch of others, especially Billy, who's an amazing guy. When it comes to video production. Just the thought of it, because when I saw it, I thought, this is great. They're keeping it way back, and all I could think about was the person was telling me, oh, it's overproduced, it doesn't make any sense, it makes it feel like it's not real. But on the flip side of that, I thought to myself, let's think about something in sports, right? If somebody gets injured specifically, they go away to cutaway shots. They go away to wide shots. You have an injury in a soccer, they just keep it wide. If they in football, they go and they keep it somewhere else, or whatever. And for me, I was like, this is far enough away that I can still see what's going on. But if he was, one of them anyway, Braun or Bobby, broke a leg, had some blood, whatever the case would be, I would think to myself, I can't see it. So then your mind wanders and you think about it like, are they actually injured? Are they not? Now, clearly they're probably not. But again, being further away, you can look at it from a more realistic scope, in my opinion.
It gives you that legitimate sports feel, which with AEW coming aboard pretty soon, they're claiming they're going to have the realistic sports edge.
Right.
Which, will probably just mean, wins and losses will actually mean something, which would be a wonderful thing.
Sure.
But in terms of production value, I think this sort of goes alongside
Sure.
that.
And then, of course, we can't bury the lead. A very long pause, and we hear, holy shit. So, does it do something for you? Because for me,
I guess I was a little bit confused by Raw doing this. Now, obviously, there was some... a little bit blue language with SmackDown. Now, I can understand...
It is the blue brand.
Now, with Raw staying on cable and sort of having a little bit of leeway with the language, especially after the 10 o'clock hour, is this going to become a fixture of this? With Paul Heyman directing this, I'm frankly for it.
Okay.
I think it was well timed by Graves. I thought it was a very human response as opposed to the Renee Young. Oh God. And by the way, I love Renee Young. I think she could possibly be one of the better play-by-play people in this country right now. Oh, my boy, Mauro Ranallo, shout out. I would have some, obscure rap reference right there, but I'm not Mauro Ranallo.
Mamma mia.
And once again, you already know my feelings about Michael Cole.
Sure.
I feel like Renee Young is very miscast
in
her not doing play-by-play.
Sure. But going back to me, the holy shit point was just like, it's hard for me because I was excited that it happened, and I was like, oh, but it was like a long pause, and he just goes, holy shit, it's like, I know exactly that it happened, and it's fine, and I know, like, people are like, oh, you can't say that on TV, but, cable has different rights,
yes.
And the FCC clearly only cares about, broadcast, so it's different, and I thought it was a nice little touch. It made people, it started thinking, hey, maybe we got a little bit more of an edgier product here. And it transferred over to SmackDown. We'll talk about, I'm sure, at some point.
Yeah.
But there's so many things about Raw that I actually enjoyed, which is kind of a new breath of fresh air for me.
It is. And even before this opening match, I don't know if you caught that this was a production error, I believe, but they showed the Street Profits backstage doing absolutely nothing. And yet my Orville Redenbacher popper meter was... Okay, we've got the Street Profits here on Raw, where they always belonged, and not having the NXT tag belts, but that's another thing. I just think that they should have went past the whole need for tag belts because Montez Ford is that fucking awesome.
He is awesome.
Now, granted, we do need to get the hashtag #ShutUpDawkins alive and rolling here because, Frank, because he is the 2019 version of Marty Jannetty, Angelo Dawkins. They've tried so many times with this man in NXT with different tag team partners, and it just doesn't work. I don't know whether it's the double sweatbands. I don't know whether I don't know whether it's his amateur background and just not translating into pro wrestling. It just doesn't work with him. And Montez Ford is that kind of rocket.
I gotta tell you, like they had 2 promos, and I just couldn't I know JC's sitting there going, Street Profits were on Raw. They didn't do anything but do promos, but again, 2 very entertaining promos.
Needed.
It was awesome.
Yes.
And it was just like the fact that he was like, we won't smoke, and it's just like I loved that portion of it, and it was like that was great. And then we get to the second part, which I believe was a interruption of a Paul Heyman promo, and it was just so funny. He's like, Charlie, we have worn out our welcome. Good day. And he just kind of walked out, and I was like, this is great. Like, you showed in those, like, maybe 2-3 minute windows how amazing, how captivating Montez Ford is. I refuse to put him with the curse of the Nestle. I refuse to, because I just want him. I want so much potential to grow. And I'm like, Dawkins, whatever, I don't really care. But I was watching that going like, this is fun. Like, this is fun. And I know JC's probably going to go back and watch this and go, we got swag. No, nobody can. Like, that's what he does. He's going to love it.
Well, JC's also marking over the fact that Charlie Caruso was dancing during the whole segment.
That's true. Go back and watch that, Josh. You're going to love it. Who the fuck is Josh? I'm sorry.
Oh, good God. I'm sorry.
All right, anyway. What else did you like in this week?
Well, I got a few things over here. Maria Kanellis, back where she belongs on Monday Night Raw. Now,
pregnant, yes.
Well...
if she's really pregnant.
Yeah, Vince probably thinks that he knocked her up somehow.
Genetic jackhammer.
I'm gonna let you say that, and because every time I do, I think of Bill Goldberg saying, maybe I do have one more scintillating jackhammer, whatever adjective he used.
Yeah, because when I think pregnancy, I think Bill Goldberg.
Yeah, so Maria's back on Monday Night Live, and Monday night. Wow.
Well, it's not a rerun.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, it's live.
Yeah, that's the nerves talking there. So she's back on Monday Night Raw after, what was it, about a 13-year absence from the show?
From Raw, I think it was, because she was on SmackDown for a little bit, and then now she's clearly a cruiserweight exclusive. So, even though she's probably,
I did kind of pop a little bit to see her in wrestling gear. I'm like, they're actually going to have a match with her? Mm-hmm. I mean, she is the first lady of professional wrestling, but no, wrestling is not exactly her strong point. But to see the whole blow up afterwards, she's not the best actress to begin with.
She's eating up scenery, as I like to call it, and she overacts. She's literally eating up props and scenery. Ah!
But you have a man in Mike Kanellis who has so much potential.
Doing Providence good, baby. Love that man.
Repping strong. I happen to drive through his hometown quite a bit, and I can definitely see why he wanted to get out of Webster, Massachusetts. It's not the greatest.
This is the greatest. Sorry.
Greatest love I've ever known. Yeah, I've got more of those coming up, so I apologize in advance. So the burial of Mike Kanellis, or Mike Bennett, I'll go with Mike Kanellis. How did you feel about that, good sir?
Well, look, I mean, it's an interesting angle. It's not something that I would necessarily think was going to happen on Monday Night Raw. We'll save the promo backstage for a different segment because I feel like that thing has an SS heat missile on that one. But when they got in the ring, it was funny. Mike got in there, got a little bit of offense, a little bit of an ass whooping, essentially.
Yeah.
And then, of course... I mean, we get to a point where Becky taps him out, and I'm like, oof. Now, granted, somebody's going to sit there and play the positive side of this. Somebody's going to play the negative side. I'll most likely play the negative, but I will say, they were on television. that's a positive. You know,
and it wasn't Nia Jax squashing him.
It wasn't. It was the two, in my opinion, probably the top tier people. To be in the ring with the top tier people in general, you're going to get exposure. You're going to get different things. So everybody, I mean, you think about it. As much as I thought it was a crappy segment, you think about it. Whoever is opposite of Seth or Becky most likely gets the most eyeballs, right? So,
unfortunately, for the last 4 or 5 months, that's been one Senor Corbin.
So, you know, thinking about it, I go, okay, look, it is what it is. I didn't necessarily really appreciate the whole, like, I'm pregnant, don't hit me thing. Thought that was a little odd. Then she rolls in the ring saying, you know, next time I'll ask Becky to impregnate me. Again, shock value, that's what they want to say. But it wasn't, but again, you get more excited with the fact that they're on television.
Yes.
Now, where does this go? You know, like, and that's the one positive I take out of this. This is more of a heat for me. I just hated it. But for me, in terms of a positive spin on it, I look at it like he's on television. She's on television. It's different, and they're using somebody. And you know what? That guy could literally lose every match. He's just so talented that I don't necessarily want him off of my television. And again, I have a clear bias. New England rosy goggles on. He's my boy. I mean, not clearly, I don't know him, but I'm just like, I love everything that guy does. So
what Mike Bennett is for you, Biff Busick is for, Oni Lorcan.
That's what a name that is.
Yeah, it has something to do with some translation to a dragon. He tried explaining it when he first came on, and it just didn't work.
Yeah, no, I get you. And it's just like, I don't know. It's hard because there's just so many things about it that I'm like super excited about with Mike and Maria, but they were almost my comeback because I was very excited about it, but I'm like, there's so much more about this show that I enjoyed. On Raw, something else that I very much enjoyed. We're kind of bearing the lead. The main event, Ricochet and AJ Styles, again, always fun. Throughout the night, they weaved in and out as we talk about. We like the weaving and the weaving and the woving. That's not even a real word, but I'm going to use it anyway.
The Afghan, the culture of WWE.
There you go. So we do that, and I'm thinking, this is cool. We get a cool rematch. It's killing me on the breaks and like the restarts and like all that stuff. Like that bothers me.
But
start
you know
and stop.
what? It removes the schmoz effect.
Sure.
You know that this will not be the technical end to a match.
Sure.
You know?
But now we get to things where anything we could have, there could be a really awesome 14-minute match, has a start and stop in the middle of it, and you're like, really? I feel like it's like virtual blue balls. Like you're watching it and you're going like, what the fuck, man? Like. You can start all over.
Unless they load up with commercials to start the 10 o'clock hour, which I would be completely in favor
I would rather just have a commercial break and just give me a 5-minute commercial break and give me a match all the way through. Really, honestly, because that's the way I feel.
I'm with you on that.
But like, I really just, there's so much about it that like, it just, I don't know. It bothers me, but it's also good at the same time. But anyway, back to my original point. AJ Styles versus Ricochet, again, was fun. And then, of course, it gets restarted because of all sorts of stuff. Dusty finish style, which again was interesting.
Yeah, and Heyman was influenced by the Dusty kind of bookings.
The American Dream, baby. Yeah, I know. Everybody loves Dusty. I'm doing my little Cabbage Patch, baby.
Well, I'm working with JC's mic here, so I really don't want to do the whole Donald Duck version of the American.
He's elbowing me right now as we speak. No, look. So we have AJ Styles versus Ricochet. Dusty finish. We think he wins clearly. John Cone comes back out, I believe. Tells them, nope, we're restarting the match. Again, they cut to commercial, they come back, and I'm like, okay, to me that was at least a little bit more logical than a random 2 out of 3 falls match. Again, which I'm sure we'll talk about in Wrestling Bingo as I like to see it. But, it is what it is. So we get to that point, and AJ loses in a very weird way to Ricochet.
It was an athletic roll-up.
Athletic roll-up. Fruit by the foot, was it not? No, I just... I'm not gonna harbor on because there's another one that happens later on, or I guess later on we'll say in the heat, that I'm not too thrilled about. But aside from that, then of course Ricochet wins, and they have the long drawn out like just fucking pull the trigger, just fucking do it,
do it, do it, do it.
Yeah, and then of course there it is, the club just beats the living shit out of just Ricochet. Nobody helps Ricochet. It's very uncomfortable. And that's the thing that I was worried about. I was like, Ricochet's always going to have a job because he does a really good concussed face. Like he just looks like nobody's home. I just took a finish. I'm going to take a nap.
I'm not really sure if all those times it's a face, but
I know. He's doing a lot of flipping and a flopping. He's going to eventually hurt himself. But,
yes, he will.
we're good. So I'm curious. I'm a big fan of, NJPW. I like the Too Sweet. I like it. I'm curious what your thoughts are on, are you excited for the club? Are you nervous about the club?
In preparations for your arrival, I was actually holding my hand in a too-sweet position for about 45 minutes or so, and just realizing there wasn't much traffic on the way east from Worcester to the scenic hallowed halls of WCAT.
I got to give you props. I mean, I thought you were going to be like, other people who were like, oh, I'll call in. And you're like, no, I want the full experience. I said to Nicole, I'm like, holy shit, this guy's driving from Worcester to be in Wakefield. I mean,
I am first segment of Raw Hardcore.
Seriously, man. So I appreciate the long drive. That's awesome. I really appreciate all the help that you've been able to give me. It's awesome. But so I'm curious, like, are you excited about the club? Are you nervous that they're gonna fuck it up? Like, how do you feel about it as a fan?
If they're keeping it to a three-man faction, I'm in favor of it.
Okay.
Because the good thing about Bullet Club is that the club, because
Turkey Club. BLT. I'm sure something will come up. I'm sure. I know it. Go ahead.
My all right everything loves Turkey Club, so I'm not going to hate on Turkey Clubs.
Bacon is delicious. Anyway.
So I'm in favor of a three-man faction because I think that you can sort of divvy up the roles here. You can keep Gallows and Anderson at the tag team level and sort of raise their game as well. Now, they're not going to be taking on the tag straps anytime soon. I don't think they have any desire to do that. But they can still elevate people. They're still that good in the ring. They can elevate. And let's face it, heel AJ is the best AJ.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Promo-wise, he's not going to be A+. But when you've got that kind of charisma around you, like Gallows and Anderson, and I know we all love Carl Anderson. And
oh God!
I'm not going to bring up the stipulation in that match.
Oh, I love it.
But
I love it.
But I'm glad that that his marriage is safe. Let's just put it that
see, look.
way.
So here's another thing we're talking about that's very Paul Heyman. Now that Paul Heyman takes over, there's a lot of tongue in cheek. There's a lot of random stuff here and there, and the JoeStopper alluded to it. He said, I'm so confident you ain't beating Ricochet. I'll put my hot Asian wife on the line is what he said. Verbatim, he said, # hot Asian wife. And of course, you go back and you think about it and like
it's a running gag.
It's a running gag, right? Like he says it all the time, like no matter where he is. And the fact that he put his wife on the line, I was like, ugh. Like as a viewer, you're like, where are we? Like clearly it ended, and nobody's talking. I actually tweeted it out. I'm like, nobody's talking about the fact that like he won the bet.
Yes.
Like, but the part that
the marriage is safe.
The marriage is safe. But the part that made me feel uncomfortable was like how Luke Gallows like got in his face and he was like, I really need this. Like I need this really bad. And I'm like, what are we doing? Like ooh, like. I always think like Paul Heyman's like the creep in the closet being like, yeah, but again.
Let's face it, out of all of the members of WWE, Vincent Kennedy McMahon would have to be the biggest creep of all.
Oh, yeah, they're all creeps. But it's just like, so again, multiple segments backstage, the slaps, as you said, the sound effects, I'm sure we'll talk about maybe in the heat. I really
hope that for the sake of both of their jawbones, I really hope that those were sound effects.
No,
because
they were not. I can guarantee you. Because the thing is about AJ Styles, and of course Ricochet, both from Japan, they beat the living shit out of everybody in Japan. You literally get knocked like to the floor. You see the sweat just whack, just fall off, and I'm thinking to myself, because I wasn't watching live. I do the thing now where I don't watch Raw or SmackDown live. Thank God, because it saves me probably 3 hours. Yeah, honestly, it does, and it 32X style. But
I like to think of JC being the only 32Xer, but
I will say this much: I do not listen to certain things on commentary. I will mute it, and I will also miss most of the entrances because I feel like it's just hogwash.
It's been done, yeah.
Yeah, and so whatever. But back to my original point about the club, it's just like there's so much going on in the club, whether it was the slap, whether it was like I had to go talk to AJ, I had to talk, like the club was insinuating so many different things left and right. And it was nice because it went, it culminated for the main event. It wasn't the main event title, but it still felt like a main event because
they elevate.
They elevate, exactly. Yes. Monday night, elevate. Well, maybe we're getting there, right? Get in the elevator, folks. We're doing it. But it's nice because I know JC talks about this program all the time, like, God, it's a rerun. God, it's a rerun. There are some that we're getting to, but
there certainly are.
But I was watching it going like, the beginning of Raw, the end of Raw. Very, very good. And I was like I joke about, it's a wrestle boner. You get excited about it, you mark out, you're like, this is great. This is why I love wrestling. And again, there's not a top heel besides Baron Corbin. We know Baron Corbin's either going to win or lose and go do something else. We know what's going to happen. AJ Styles is going to be that long-term kind of like, what is he doing? Am I interested? Are they going to beat somebody up? I mean, like you said, heel AJ's the best AJ.
Yeah,
I mean, beat up John Cena, right? That's what it is, So I'm excited for it. And of course, JC's sitting there going, I can feel him rolling his eyes in his lawn chair, sipping on whatever he's doing right now, just going, fucking club. Who gives a shit about the fucking club? But I care. I'm excited.
Get yourself some culture, JC.
It's for the culture, JC. For the culture. All right, moving on. What else? Do you got anything shine-worthy?
I didn't have any shine-worthy for Raw, so you got anything else good?
I do. I will say, look, I'm excited about the 24/7 title. Listen, I will just say very quickly, I'm sure we'll discuss it more in the heat, but I'm just saying, I think Mav is doing a great job with what he's given. He's given. Our truth, I'm not necessarily, the okie dokie and the random crap he's doing. I'm like, okay. Like
the shucking and jiving.
Yeah, it's like, I get it. Like, it is what it is. But again, for something that I absolutely buried the minute it was debuted on television.
Rightfully so.
I look at it and go, yeah, like I'm excited for certain aspects of it. I'm not necessarily, here's the thing. I'm more excited for the aspects of the exclusives and the Facebook and the YouTube videos than I am for when it's inserted into my programming.
And that was where I sort of, I wasn't sure where to put this in the shine because technically it was a WWE exclusive. That bench scene, EC3.
Oh, yeah.
Maverick. It's still weird calling him Drake Maverick because
he's the rock star Spud, baby.
He most certainly is. And in that minute and 15 seconds, you had everything comedy-wise you could ever want in a wrestling show.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm wondering in the future if they will finally start adopting some of these vignettes that they do on the network into the programming.
That's a really good point, Joe, but I don't know. Like, I feel like we're already shoehorning so many random things, and I almost feel like if they do it on television, it takes away from the specialness of it because they're going to be so like time crunchy. They're going to be like, I need that 150 down to 37 seconds. They're going to be like, possibly, potentially, maybe cut it down because there's an and a soundbite. That's for an audience about 3 people. They'll understand. But I will say, I'm excited when I see these things now. I don't necessarily, like, it was fine. I was excited for like the conga line portion and like, I will say R-Truth, like leaning on the barricade, being like taunting him.
Yes.
Being like, it's me or the title, you can't pin me. And his wife's just sitting there right next to him.
Indecent proposal, yeah.
Yeah, it was just like, so like the visual of like Truth laying on the barricade while I was going to say Rockstar Spud, but Drake Maverick and his wife are sitting down front row for this next matchup. And he's just laying there like, come on, baby, pin me. Come on. And he's just like, he stands up and he's like, what do I do? What do I do? And then, of course, it was framed perfectly. His wife just like comes out of the frame into it and stands up. And it's just like, huh? And I was just like, you sit back down. And I'm like, oh, this was great.
This has to be the most patient woman in the history of patient women.
Well, I think there's an ulterior motive here. They're probably like, let us do this shit and maybe we'll dangle a contract. Because she was in the Mae Young Classic. But she got beat up in the first round, I think.
Yeah. She's done.
But again, I'm thinking to myself, like, maybe this, she parlays this, as we say, into a contract, which again, wouldn't necessarily care because, it's working for her. So good for her. But I'm sure we'll talk
Unless
more.
Naomi.
Okay. I'm trying to think, is there anything else on Raw specifically that I'm excited about? I'm probably missing stuff, so I apologize, but I'm looking through my notes very quickly.
Oh, you've got all these digital notes here.
I have to go digital because otherwise,
you're very 21st century.
I am. I'm at 21st century. I mean, we didn't really talk about Baron Corbin. I'm sure we'll talk about him later in what he did. But looking at the rest of this stuff, I mean, I don't necessarily hate anything else on Raw. So we're gonna go over to SmackDown very quickly. Is there anything on SmackDown that you enjoyed?
Just straight up, I love the idea of having a video of Big E's intro.
Oh, yeah.
I'd never seen that before, and I was just like, this is something new.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure whether that's the Bischoff effect,
I think they said after Extreme Rules he's going to have a lot more hands-on.
Oh, after. Oh,
yeah. But again, that's what the filthiest of sheets imply, so I don't necessarily know if it's true. So
I've got something for the filthy sheets later on this.
But yeah, again, don't you dare be sour. You can see the passion when he says it. It was
Yes.
fun. It was definitely fun.
And you get tired of hearing that week after week after week. Like you said, you'll tune out the entrances sometimes. But just sort of getting that behind the curtain view of them, like, okay, all right, I like this.
Yeah, and he was given the passion. He was doing the whole thing, and like they cut a promo earlier, and then they ended it with like, just go to the side there. Not gonna it was like, okay, it was a second where he was just like, over there for 1 second, please. And he just like lost it, and I'm like, this is great. It was just like he flipped that switch immediately, and like it's right there in Gorilla, and I can almost visualize Vince sitting there going like, yeah, I'm sour. Like I can just...
I really don't want to think of Vincent Kennedy McMahon grinding his hips.
I can see it. I can totally see it. And he's like, I'm hip. I'm cool. It's a new day. Yes, it is. Like I can see it. I can totally see it. But again, on SmackDown very quickly, I want to give a shout out to me, very quickly, I thought this entire night on SmackDown was KO. That's
yes.
it. I thought that entire...
It was indeed the Kevin Owens show.
It was. And listen, from the beginning of the day to the end of the night, I mean, this guy was like, he made it work. Every single time. He was handed a pile of dog shit, and he was just like, chicken shit become chicken salad. Like, he just figured it out. And it was...
He made a chicken Florentine out of this.
I've never had chicken Florentine. I'm sure it's delicious.
It's delicious.
I'll take it. As a connoisseur of good cuisine, I would imagine you know what you're talking about. So
I've had my moments in the kitchen.
Okay. So anyway, I will say KO from doing what I now love. He's Chris Jerichoing. He's doing stuff. He's getting over things that don't need to get over. He's doing and now the best in the cue card change world, and I love it. It was just like the fact that he does it on the opposite time he should be.
Yes.
I look forward to that every single time. It gets me every time. I
Yes.
pop every single time. I'm loving it. I'm super marking out. I'm loving it. And then he comes in and it's like, oh my God, it's Shane McMahon the Mac. It's McMac. But JC's gonna go, oh God, damn it. But again, in my mind, we got it out of the way.
Very quickly.
Very quickly. It was like ushered in. And then I was like, okay, is KO going to suck it up? Is he going to sit there and be like, all right, Shane McMahon, here we are. This is so great. You're awesome. And he kind of started that way.
And then you knew that flip was going to be switched.
Yeah.
Wow. That just came
You got
along.
a new coat of paint? Paint a coat? Yeah. It's just but I get it, right? So I'm curious what your thoughts were. You're like, is this a babyface turn?
I wasn't sure what to think of KO during the whole Big E replacement. Mm-hmm. I really think there's a place for KO as a babyface.
Okay.
Because he brings attention to you. He can captivate you with promos. Yeah. He draws you in as the viewer. And I don't really know if many babyfaces do that nowadays.
No.
Kofi to a certain extent does, and I think putting the belt on him was a long time coming for him, and I'm glad they did that. That being said, what other baby faces on SmackDown really bring you in with their promos? You have Ali. Mm-hmm. And then I hear crickets.
Yeah.
And
wish I had a sound effect, but I don't. One day.
We are still accepting donations to Adams. So who the fuck is
Adam?
Who
the fuck is Adam? Jesus. Protect the business. Kayfabe the name.
We're still looking for donations, and we'll gladly accept
Please, sir, I want some more. No, look. It was exciting. KO did a great job with that. He even told Shane McMahon, looks like you're afraid. Looks like you're afraid. Then Dolph Ziggler comes out, train wrecks him right away. We know. He's like, nobody cares. And then, of course, they become a tag team. He makes a hot dog reference. They have a backstage segment where they're like, I was like, okay, this is a shitty segment. And then he leaves and he comes back and he goes, and then we get hot dogs. And he's like, okay, after the match we get hot dogs. I was like, fine. You saved that entire promo with one line. Yes. He's just a finesse player. He looked at it and went this sucks. What can I do to make it better? And he does. And then we got into the match. They lost. Heavy Machinery beat him. And again, Heavy Machinery was in the main event.
And they built them up. They elevated them. I'm not sure if they're club worthy, but Dolph Ziggler does what he does best, which is elevate people, make them look like they're the shit. Yeah,
and it was good because they had Daniel Bryan out there doing his. This is the one thing that kind of threw me off. It was like Daniel Bryan was on commentary.
Effect,
yeah, exactly, the schmaz. It's kind of like the butterfly effect, I guess. So it's like you're doing this whole thing where the main event is Heavy Machinery versus KO and Dolph Ziggler. The winner gets added to the Extreme Rules in a triple threat tag team match for the titles. And they're having, New Day and Daniel Bryan and Rowan out there. New Day has their own desk. You can't hear them, I don't think. It was just like
there were some barbs traded back and forth, but that
it felt like it wasn't necessarily as
I was writing at the
impotent.
time.
Yeah. And so like then of course randomly they just jump on him and then they have to restart the match. It's a whole thing, schmaz. And then of course Heavy Machinery beat them and then KO just loses his shit and starts stunning people and I'm like, this is great. This is all I needed.
This is what we need.
Yeah, and it was like, okay, I was like, please don't saddle Dolph Ziggler, or more importantly, don't saddle KO with Dolph Ziggler in a fucking schmaz thrown together.
You already did that with the Mac. You're not going to do that to KO.
But I was just like, oh god damn it, please don't do this. And then of course, KO starts stunning people and doing random things. I'm like, this is great. This is what I want.
Now, I was curious about why he was censored at the end of that episode. Was it one of these 7 words that you definitely cannot say?
Probably. I imagine
television?
he probably took liberties. It was because I imagine like Samoa Joe wasn't supposed to move when the bird was being flipped. In my opinion, I think that's why they did it. We'll talk later.
I think that was a decent camera angle, but you're walking that line.
Yeah, you are tiptoeing around stuff, so it is what it is, man. But.
Now, another shine I had with this was the Ali promo, and I've heard people go back and forth. Apparently, there were some alt-writers who were going off on Ali for his kind of promos. And you know what? Yeah, is he sort of doing the Fatu make a difference back in
Somebody
95?
else, posted that.
But there's a place for it.
Really?
He's a cop, or he was a cop.
They don't say that, though.
No, they don't. Should. They don't like to tie in anything.
Because fuck the police. No.
Coming straight from the underground.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
NWA changed my life.
Thanks too.
Anyway, I like these segments. I like it a lot. I like the sort of gritty nature of it, the realism. And yeah, are the themes sort of, a glance from Ali can make somebody quit drinking? Okay, that's pushing it a little bit. But somebody's out there. Mm-hmm. Outside of these hallowed walls of WWE, cutting promos. And that's why I love the network exclusives. That's why I like these Ali promos, because you don't know where they're going to be at. Mm-hmm. You don't know what his mindset's going to be at the time. He was a lot angrier in this promo.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I'm curious as to who. My guess is that, well, I'll leave that for another segment.
Now, look, so they again, these Ali promos are great. Was it a little too preachy for me towards the end? Absolutely. I was excited about it. It wasn't my shine. I think there's only like a couple more things. I don't even know if there's any more. But I like that they're taking time out to give him exposure for character development.
Yeah.
I like that whole thing. And it's like the one thing I would say, he's like, nobody's like me. Nobody, like, there's no story like me. And that's where he lost me, because I was like, motherfucker, what are you talking about? I was like, Kofi. Kofi's like the ultimate babyface, being like, nobody looks like me, and is winning titles. When I win something, you're going to be like somebody like me. I'm like, it seems like you're just regurgitating the Kofi feeling and trying to slap it on Ali, in my opinion. When I was watching it, I'm like, oh, you had me till that point, because...
That might be a drawback to Muhammad Hassan when he was trying to come in as, I don't want to be known as somebody who looks like he's Muslim. I just want to be a wrestler.
Yeah.
And then as soon as 2 months went by, oh, wait a second, I'm having a whole bunch of guys surrounding the ring with hoods on and looking like they're going to do a Daniel Pearl or something like that. Yeah. And maybe it was a drawback to that. Like, you had potential by making this guy make a difference. Mm-hmm. And you just typecast him. Yeah. I'm not going to let you do that to me.
Yeah, it was difficult for me because I was watching it and that kind of did cross my mind. But I'm curious to see where they go with it. And again, it piques my interest. So again, it was definitely a positive. Yeah. But there's so much more that I'm just like, but it is what it is. We'll find out. We'll find out, definitely. Anything else?
Yeah, I like the Joe and Kofi face-off.
Okay.
I really thought they would train some good lines. Now, obviously, Samoa Joe, he's always going to go at somebody's family. That's sort of like his go-to.
Uncle Joe. Good old Uncle Joe. Which
Wendy!
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And I thought that Kofi did have some very good responses to this, and, sort of making a dig at Joe, saying, your kids aren't going to be remembering you for your wins. Like, oh, wow. Come to think about it, I never knew Samoa Joe had a family. I just always thought he was part of everybody else's family, until you have to do the soundbite, as you were saying, Jealous Joe. It just fell flat for me. I think even though some fans were cheering it, it fell flat for them too. And I felt like this is what they were trying to get over. Jealous Joe? No. Let the full promo speak for itself. don't just worry about that 5-second soundbite like you were talking about.
It is hard because, again, I did enjoy the promo, but the one thing that glaringly was apparent to me when I was watching, I said, this is like watching a master's student in promo versus, like, Kofi's not a novice, but they're not even fucking close. Like, you sit there and he's just like, he's using words that I'm like, I got to go look these things up.
Yeah.
But he made him feel like, I don't know them, but they sound dangerous. You know, it's like he's saying things to me like, I'm like, and he's so suave when he does it. He's just got that swagger when he talks. I'm just like, I could have Samoa Joe tell me I'm going to die. And I'd be like, yeah, like, I'm okay with it, I guess. Like, he just had a way about him in that promo where I was just like, yeah, like, I understand what you're saying, and it was believable. Then we got to Kofi, and it felt like, I got to get on my tricycle, I got to learn how to ride a bike, and then I'm running, and then I'm, it was just, it felt like.
But he caught up to him.
He did. He caught up, but it was almost like Joe had to slow down just a smidge so that Kofi could keep up with him, and then it was just like, all right, you're close enough, I'm going to take off again. And it was just like, oh my God. And then, of course, like, Kofi just, like, they had it perfectly angled. Kofi just puts up the bird, like, which I didn't think Kofi was going to, flip off Joe, but they hide it behind Joe's head.
Right.
And it was good. As I'm flipping you off, I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not. You're Joe. Fuck you, Joe. Sorry, not you, Joe. Samoa Joe. But
it wouldn't be the first time somebody says, fuck you, JoeStopper.
Okay. Anyway.
Who the fuck is Joe?
Who the fuck is Joe? That's a little bit different because you're the JoeStopper. But yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
But no, I'm curious. Like, it almost felt like I can't win this verbal argument, so I'm just going to flip you the bird. It didn't to me, it was just like, oh, fuck you. Like, it was a perfect, like.
It was the influence of Bischoff.
Yeah, it was just, he's back and he's better than ever, baby. But, like, it's just, there's so many things that I was watching you going, like, I'm really enjoying this. But the middle finger was kind of like, okay. Like, wah, wah. But it was like, it's like watching a gymnastic routine and you nail it, but then you have to nail the ending and you're like, nah, not so great. So that's how I felt. Anything else that's shine worthy? We got a lot of heat. We're almost 40 fucking minutes into this thing. So this is the longest shine we've ever done.
I'd like to think it's because of me.
Positive. You know what? I'm just going to call an audible and go right into the heat if you don't mind.
We're Mr. Heat, misers, we're Mr. Hot.
So very quickly, I just want to point out in the heat, very quickly, that this fucking Becky and backstage segment with Seth Rollins, holy good goddamn. I was watching it going like, huh? I got jokes, huh? Huh? It's like, Seth Rollins, you're my bitch, huh? Huh?
And I didn't get any of the references that somebody posted it later on that she was referring to some sort of movie that I'd never seen. Like, okay.
It was just like, it was a variety hour. And I appreciate the charisma that came out of it, but I was just like, why can't they just be the ass-kicking couple? Why can't they just do that? They have to fucking muck it up. They have to fucking get their hands all over it. And they're like, the clay was fine, molded as it was. Don't put it back in the heater and remold it. Like, just leave it.
They're already champions.
Yeah. And it was just like, well, my boyfriend's got a cute bum. Like, it's smacking him like around, like whatever. It's just like, no. An ass kicker would kick somebody in the ass, not slap somebody in the ass. It's like, don't go groping on the merchandise. Just fucking fight. Like, that's the part I was like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? It was just so bad. It was like knock knock jokes, waka waka waka. It was so stupid. It was like, and I know what they're doing. They're trying to create the illusion of like they don't take Baron and Lacey seriously.
Right.
But like you're doing too much. You're doing way too much for me.
And just a few minutes later, they treated Maria and Mike like they were nothing.
Yeah.
So.
Which again, like sometimes that's okay because sometimes people have to eat shit. And I listen, I get it.
On one side, you have the elevators in the club. And on the other side, you have Seth Rollins. And
the stairs. Yeah, they're taking the stairs. Exactly. No, I get what you're saying. But I didn't enjoy that portion of the promo. I didn't like that segment really that much. I was excited for Mike and Maria. I was like, this is cool. I see what they're trying to do. Clearly, they're going to eat shit. But
I wouldn't mind a couple more minutes in that match. That's just me loving Mike Kanellis.
Sure, of course. But it is what it is. All right, what else you got that's heat worthy? You said you had a couple heaters.
Yeah, I most certainly do. That 6-man. Oh, that glorious 6-man.
You're trying to entice me with something, aren't you? You're trying to gaslight me.
Weaving like the fabric of America.
There you go.
Now, that Kofi taking that loss in the 6-man, you have a man finally built as champion, finally making him look like a champion, constant, and maybe overdoing it in terms of the Raw and SmackDown matches. You make him lose in a 6-man tag.
Yeah.
Who does that benefit?
Nobody. Nobody. I mean, you're gonna say Samoa Joe choked him out 2 nights in a row, whatever. Like that, they're implanting that whole thing, which I understand the story.
Right.
But it's just like, what are we doing? Like 6-man tags in general. Like I understand you need to have a device because you can't have them lose a singles match and like you go, oh, 6-man tag. It was blah 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 blah. And like you turned around and you got choked out or whatever. Like I get that, but goddamn it,
why did
man.
he need to wrestle? He didn't need to wrestle. Just keep that as a tag.
Yeah, it was just they just ruined. Like it was a perfectly good match with X and you know Joe, and then they're like, here's a 6-man tag, and I went, why? I was enjoying this. What are you doing to me? Like you made me go, God damn it, 32X. But I had to watch part of it, and I had to I went to the finish, and I'm like, it makes sense, but it's just like, you don't make me care for that 10 minutes. Like you really don't. I'm like, okay, I guess I know. Like there's nothing in that match. The ending it mattered, but nothing in that match made me go like, well, that's not going to be used in a clip. That's not going to be used in a recap. Just the finishes. That's why I don't care about 6-man tags.
Yeah.
It's fucking ridiculous.
The opposite of finishes, the entrance for the Viking experience. Now, I understand, you know, the whole blacked out persona. It's been kind of overdone for presentation. But there was something they used to do in their entrances, and Nestlemania.
I'm going to let that slide.
Who the fuck is Adam? They used to do a certain chant, for they used to be known as another name.
Yes, it's true.
Back before Rhino was hired, and he was, of course, was the War Machine Rhino. Mm-hmm. There used to be this tag team called War Machine, who had a battle cry of war, war, war. And you know what? As simple as that was, it got the crowd into it. They've nixed it. Mm-hmm. They can no longer do the war cry. And I just find that very annoying. They've already done so much to change these guys as is. Why change the one thing that connected them to, well, besides the fact they're freakishly athletic, the one thing that connected them to this.
Oh,
to the universe, as it were.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. It's not very good. I will say another thing very quickly. As we always talk about in Bingo, I'm not going to say too much because the geriatric jobber made his presence felt, said things, idle threats yet again. I'm going to call him the idle taker because he really just fucking says, I'm going to bury you. He only killed Paul Bearer. That's pretty much it. That's the only person I can think of that he killed, literally, on television. Everybody else, he's like, I'm going to make you rest in peace. So are you sending somebody on a cruise and they're going to nap forever? Like, I don't know. But you never really killed anybody, Undertaker, except Paul Bearer. So
maybe Giant Gonzalez after that DQ
he's
loss.
still alive, isn't he? No, he's dead, isn't he?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
but I don't think
dead.
he died because of the Undertaker. So realistically, on television, the Undertaker's only got like 1 kill. It's just like, I've made the whole thing bothered me as a geriatric jobber in general. I'm getting upset. But it's just like, God, he gets out there and it's like, of course, like the Mac and Shane, they run away. And it's a whole thing, but it's just like, literally, it was like 4 minutes of an entrance. It was just like, before that, we had pyro on the turnbuckles and the whole thing. I'm like, I get it. And like the majestic Undertaker does these amazing things and whatever. And everybody loves it. It's like, yay, it's the Undertaker.
Nostalgia.
But God damn it, the minute that bell rings, I'm going to be like, fuck me, man. Like, I just don't care. I don't really give a shit. Because it's just like, what are we doing? Roman Reigns was absent this whole week.
I'll give him a week off.
Yeah, but it was just like, he's the big dog. And I get like the Undertaker selling the whole thing. But God damn it, man. Like, what the fuck? So it was like geriatric jobber. Then we had this whole thing, you know, what we talked about with the 6-man tags. And then for good measure, we've got a 2 out of 3 falls match.
Of course.
Because why the fuck not? 2 quick falls. 2 quick falls. What's the point? 2 is and here's the thing that takes me out of the realization of it all, Joe. Who the fuck is Joe? Sorry. Michael Cole says in commentary, we're going to be taking a commercial break after the second fall.
Will we?
Why tell me that?
Will we?
Why instruct me that the commercial break is coming after the second fall? You took the realism out of it. You made me go like, okay, so they're timing out when the second fall is going to occur, and then I'll have time to fast fucking forward. And it's just like, and again, in a 2 out of 3 falls match, I've never cared about a 2 out of 3 falls match in my life. Whether I've booked it, whether I've watched it, whether I've seen it live, it does not matter. 2 out of 3 falls, everybody says the same fucking thing. The third fall's the fall to watch. It's the only one that fucking matters. And there it was. Fucking it didn't matter till the third fucking fall.
Now, I've already pissed off one host of this show, and I'm about to piss off another host of this show.
You're going to tell me you liked it, didn't you?
No, this is actually directed towards another host of this show. Forever in the Heat, Mandy fucking Rose. No intro for you this week. No Vaseline on the camera. And what the hell did you call that cell of the eclipse?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I mean, look, I mean, JC loves Mandy. I forgot to put her in the shine. I'm sorry. JC's going to say blasphemy as he's going to put her in the shine.
I made a point to not put that piece of human waste in the shine.
Wow. Strong feelings from the JoeStopper. Strong. Very strong. The hate is strong in this one.
Well, let's face it. She injured one of my more favorite wrestlers in WWE, and Asuka, at a house show. And they haven't really been on TV, the Sky Pirates, since. Once again, that match that was supposed to happen in Tokyo, did it ever happen? We'll never know, because nobody ever said anything about it.
So you're blaming all this on Mandy Rose. Very strong.
Yes.
Very strong. I'm sure JC's about to throw his phone away, although he probably needs it. So
he will.
Something else that very much upset me was another fucking roll-up. Like, Mella wins by a fucking roll-up in the fucking start of the match, but I was like, here we go again. It's like, okay, here's a match. And a roll-up. And we're a commercial break.
And pinning a number one contender.
Yep. Like, again, I will massage this to make sense. Where it's like, clearly Alexa can't do anything. Nikki can do everything. She went and did Moment of Bliss. Not so great with Mella. Not so great with Nikki and Bayley doing the Moment of Bliss thing on SmackDown.
I've heard better.
But again, like, the crowd was loving her, so it was effective. I wasn't necessarily enjoying it, but I was like, it's effective. And then, of course, like, Nikki beat, everybody, it seems.
Yes.
And then, like, okay, so she gets our point across on Monday. Then she loses to Bayley again. I'm like, it's not again, but it was like without Alexa. So then it's planning this whole, there's a lot of onions, a lot of layers to this whole thing.
Yes.
But it was like, so she hosted and she lost on SmackDown. But if you go back to Raw, she was like fucking unbeatable. And I'm like, so why wouldn't you just keep it going? Why wouldn't you keep her beating Bayley? Because then it makes sense. Like, now she's lost. Nobody cares now. Nobody fucking cares. It's like, is it Alexa that's out there because she wins? Like, I get that, but I was like, I was enticed. And then it was just like, they're going to turn off too early on this exit instead of getting to the finish. And I'm like, God fucking damn it, man. Sorry. Go ahead. Is there anything
Speaking
else?
of things that exasperate you.
Oh, God damn it.
It's that time. It's that time. And you know what, Detective Nessel?
Yes.
I'm going to give you some help this week.
Nice. The offices of Detective Nessel and Pollock are in. I'm going to let you told me this theory. I'm chopping at the bit because I'm grasping at straws usually, and I'm sure Dr. Backcracker is listening going, oh, I want to see what happens with Firefly Funhouse. There he goes. Can't do it. Can't fucking do it.
I wasn't even going to try Backcracker, so there you go. I'm just going to let
The Funhouse.
I'm just going to let Nestlemania take the fall for this one.
There you go.
Now, something I've noticed this week, there weren't as many puppets out there.
Nope.
There was a puppet behind Miz as he was walking towards the ring on Monday Night Raw. And there was a puppet, Abigail, the witch, behind Apollo Crews as he walked to the ring. And I thought to myself, what would Detective Nessel be thinking right about now? And
That's dangerous. That's dangerous. Don't go down that road. You're going to drive yourself nuts.
Well, I have. I've driven myself directly into that oak tree, and I'm filled with nuts at the moment. Wow, that just came out horribly wrong.
Oh, the magic. Yeah.
So what am I thinking here? What is the correlation between The Miz and Apollo Crews? And on the surface, you would think, well, one actually wins matches, one's actually been booked to be a champion, and one has been booked to be nothing more than a jobber, even though Apollo Crews is incredibly talented. And I thought to myself, well, what are the similarities between the two of them? Neither one of them has taken well to receiving leadership in their lifetimes. The Miz spoke for years of being estranged from his father and not thinking his father thinking that he was not good enough for him. That can do something to a man. I can attest to that personally. Apollo Crews, when did he receive leadership? He could have received leadership from Titus O'Neil with Titus Worldwide. He rejected that. And what is Bray Wyatt looking to do more than anything else to let him in? These are men in need of a father figure, somebody in need of leadership. And yes, I'm going to say it, Miz will reject the offers of one Wyndham Rotunda. Apollo Crews will not. Apollo Crews will be the first of the Fireflies.
Interesting. Very interesting theory. I'm curious to see if you're correct. Hashtag Joe's hopes come true?
JoeStopper may know.
Yeah, exactly. So look, I'm excited for this because this is a week where it didn't seem like a lot. But here's very simple. Here's the Express Lane Detective Nessel. I watched it and went, okay, there's The Miz. There's Apollo Crews. Nothing else really happened. And I thought, but here's the genius of it. It didn't need to have everything the first time around. This time around. The first time we needed to see all 4 puppets. I get it. But now they're taking backstage segments, which normally I would fast forward, and I have to go back and watch them.
Yep.
I have to go back and look at I have to rewatch them.
That 15-second rewind button is a beautiful thing.
It is. And you watch it and you go, is anybody there? Is anything going on in the background? I literally took a picture. I'm not exaggerating. I took a picture of some guy in the background. It said Levy in the background. I'm like, does that have anything to do with anything? Does that have anything? It's just
He claimed he was from New Orleans. Where is there a levee? New Orleans.
Right? There was a picture. Actually, I'll show it to you. I think I still have it on my phone. There's a guy in the background while Dolph Ziggler, you can barely see it, but Dolph Ziggler and KO are preparing for the match, and there's a guy in the background, and it says Levy. I don't know why, but I was like, what the hell is that? But it was interesting. Very interesting. But anyway, we get back to The Miz. We get back to Apollo Crews. This is where I get nuts. Apollo Crews specifically, it drove me nuts because I was like, well, Apollo Crews, why the fuck would Apollo Crews be in there? And I'm like, okay, Sister Abigail, sorry, Abby the Witch, because I think they have the rights gone.
Yeah.
But look, so Sister Abigail happened, is what it is. And I looked at it and thought to myself, this is interesting. I did back some research. There is a match where Apollo Crews has faced Bray Wyatt. It was, I think, the first of the year, a couple years ago. It was almost 2 years ago now, where it was Apollo Crews versus Bray Wyatt. And all they kept talking about to me, and I'm not necessarily saying that it's a hint, but Apollo Crews was talking, and all they kept putting over was the fact that Matt Hardy had Bray Wyatt's number, that Matt Hardy was in Bray Wyatt's head. And I went, that seems interesting. I was trying to see if there's any correlation there. And then Matt Hardy had a promo afterwards while Bray Wyatt was there. And I was like, this is interesting. I should watch this. This might be relevant material. And he said, yes, like he did the whole thing.
Of course.
And then he did his whole thing and he said, you are the proprietor, the whole thing. Like he does the whole thing and he does. But he said to me, he goes, not to me specifically, he said to Bray.
I believe Matt speaks to all of us.
It's true. It's true. He basically said, when Abigail is gone, I will finish you. And I was thinking to myself, isn't Abby kind of already gone? Isn't Abby kind of a non-factor, especially when you watch the Firefly Fun House? When you watch it, he's trying to get her to come back. He's trying to drag her.
He's literally dragging her out from the ground.
And I'm thinking to myself, like, that'd be an interesting target because Matt Hardy's saying, once she's gone, I will have you. I will beat you. I will forever. Maybe he hasn't forgotten about that. Maybe he's insecure with the fact that if Abby's really, truly gone, maybe, just maybe, Matt Hardy could be a threat to him.
If there's anybody on the face of this earth who does not forget things that he says, it's Matt Hardy.
Exactly. And I'm just thinking, there's too much of a connection there where I was like, and think about it. Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy, for the better part, which was the last thing we saw together, they were friends. It's the easiest thing to do. Now he's saying he doesn't have any friends, and all this shit. Matt Hardy isn't doing anything. And he's also just on Twitter going, you don't know how hard it is to be Matt Hardy. Like he does that whole...
By the way, I love Big Money Matt.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yes.
It's fucking great. Check it out on Twitter. It's amazing. But it's just like, but I'm looking at it, drawing comparisons. I'm like, I am going way too far in the weeds here. But I'm like, I had to watch an Apollo Crews match to get to that Matt Hardy promo, to jump to that conclusion. And I'm thinking, that's a very logical... How I got there was very illogical. And I'm thinking... This is great. Like, if that happens, I'm in. Matt Hardy is doing nothing. Easy way to get Bray over. I'm in. Then, of course, very quickly, we're watching The Miz. I'm very closely with The Miz, thinking, if it keeps happening every week and we get all 4 puppets, so next week if it's a different puppet, like Huskus, or if it's the Rambling Rabbit, I'm thinking to myself, that is going to be the scary part because now I'm going, Miz, you've seen 1. Now you've seen 2. Oh my God, there's 3. If there's a 4th, we're all going to fucking mark out. It's the word of the day. Holy shit, it's happening. Like, that's how I'm going to feel about it. And then, of course, very quickly, I'm also thinking, like, there's something on Twitter that Bray said.
Yes.
He was saying, like, it's always been me. I'm going to do this thing. And then, of course, he called out John Cena.
And forgiving John Cena.
And forgiving John Cena.
Or asking for forgiveness,
and he's like, dance with me, John. Dance with me. And I'm like...
And I do love that gif of which he's literally dancing with him before he gives him Sister Abigail.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful thing.
It's psycho-ish, though. It's like, it's great. And I'm like, so he's trying to plug up everything. Like, think about everybody that's wronged him, especially like John Cena's fucked him over at WrestleMania 30. The Rock beat him at 30. Well, not him, but he beat his family at 32. So he's like, I'm sitting there going like Randy Orton. I'm thinking of all of his WrestleMania opponents, and I'm like, yeah, Like, let's do this thing. Like, he is going to basically undo everything that he's already done, and I'm really into it. So I'm thinking, here we go. I want a John Cena match. I want a Rock match. I want all these things. I want Matt Hardy. I want everything. I want the world and everything in it, baby. Detective Nestle, in and out. I'm done.
I don't want Westbury's finest and the West Newbury's finest. Yeah, that trumpet can only belong to one Xavier Woods.
Very quickly, I will say, I forgot a couple things very quickly, so I'll do Nestle, not quick heats, but Nestle quick wrap-up. Corbin and Lacey had a thing. It was a thing. It wasn't very memorable. And Corbin helped Lacey win against Natty. That was a snooze fest, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Moving over.
32X.
Also, exactly, 32X. CN versus Apollo was very good. Very quick, but very good. I wanted more of it. I wanted more athleticism, but it was a great wrestling match for 5 minutes.
Now, one thing I didn't understand with this is the very cool segment. You have CN going over the ropes, Apollo catching him. Mm-hmm. Nice show of strength there. 5 seconds later, somebody about half the size of one Andrade with Miss Aleister Black.
Yeah.
Head scissoring him. Mm-hmm. Like, you could catch a 220-pound man, and you cannot catch an 85-pound woman.
Logic out the window.
I don't quite understand that.
Yeah. Speaking of which, what a great segue, because that part did bother me. But speaking of Aleister Black, there was a promo. He was saying how excited he was.
There certainly was.
They're finally stopping this dog shit, hopefully, and they're starting at Extreme Rules because the knocking on heaven's door is going to be happening at Extreme Rules. I was like, finally, can we just fucking end this piece of shit? I love Aleister Black, but just fucking have him. You see him do that fucking spin challenge, the spin kick challenge on the Pepsi bottle?
Yeah.
I was like, this is great. Show me that stuff. I don't want to hear him fucking freaking out in the backstage. Like, just fucking wrestle. I'm so excited for this to be a thing.
Just feed him Buddy Murphy.
Anybody. Give him Randy. I don't care. Whatever. But it's just like, fucking A, man. Fucking A. Sorry. I'm done. That's the end of it. Now it is time. We got through all this shit to get hopeful very quickly.
Glorious! Wow, that just came out
That was very opera-ish. Very opera-ish.
Well, I am a fan of 205 Live and one Aiden English.
There you go.
However, for my hope this week, I have an interactive hope.
Ooh.
For we seek to reach the masses. And the masses may just be visiting a small karaoke joint here and there. So my idea for my hope, I seriously doubt this hope will come true because of logistics, but my hope is Jobberknocker Nakioki.
Okay. Interesting.
For the title of the voice of the Jobberknocker podcast.
Wow. Interesting. It's like a throwdown here.
Yes. One genre of music is refused. You're allowed to refuse one genre, and one decade of music is allowed to be refused. So, for instance, I don't listen to any music nowadays, so I would refuse this genre.
Okay.
JC might be your co-host, but I'm your co-most.
Ooh.
And the brothers Quinn, I love what they do for Jobberknocker in the website. But you know what? Out of those brothers Quinn, I don't see anybody mighty out of them.
Ooh, interesting.
Now, Ray, you've got the pipes. You've really inspired me to want to try to make this podcast the best I possibly could this week after your fill-in 2 weeks ago. You might be the choice from 2 weeks ago, but I am the voice. I am the voice of the Jobberknocker podcast.
Are you going to make fun of me now?
No, you're cool.
Oh, okay. All right.
And plus, I know you won't step to me, so it's all good. Cool. So come one, come all. Make the reservation wherever you want to do it. I'll be there, gripping my mic with a fistful of steel, and I'm ready to do this.
And sex appeal. There it is. What an interesting hope. I did not expect you to do that. That was interesting. My hope is very simple. I was very excited for Pyro. Please, for the love of God, give me Pyro. Like, just give it to me, man.
It was glorious.
It was great. You forget how much, and like, again, you can't use it all the fucking time, but like, give me something. Give me something good. Like, just every once in a while, just Pyro. Even just at a pay-per-view. It's fine. Just give me Pyro. Give me something. I was excited. I was very
AJ feels
excited.
so lost without it.
It's true. And Booyaka is not the same without some flashy Pyro. Hashtag Nestle's hopes will always come true, hopefully. That's what we're going to do there. And then now that we've done the hope, it is time for your comeback. JoeStopper, hit me with it.
This is a joyous occasion for me being on this podcast. For I am joining two people along with you and JC who absolutely love this man. There's nothing this man can't do. And yet, strangely, ever since he was resigned 2 years ago, there's nothing this man has done.
It's true.
We love to go the back and forth between this person and Maya.
It's Mia.
Mia Yim, in terms of their constant catfighting. We love it. But the fact of the matter is, he still hasn't done anything. And on SmackDown, even in just one 15-second segment, he finally did something. The return of 803 Shelty B, baby!
Yeah.
With the Shelty eyes.
Yeah, he didn't do anything.
The Shelty eyes.
He just looked back and forth, didn't say anything.
But did he need to? After so many years of being looked over, maybe that's what the eyes were all about. He realized all the people who had looked over him and thought so little of him and pushed him so far down on the cart that he cannot even breathe. He's looking for those people. He's looking to single them out. And he is going to rise like the phoenix he truly is. Shelty B 803, baby.
I think you're looking into this way too much.
I have a habit of doing that.
My comeback this week goes to the motherfucking club because I got a too sweet everybody I can find. A special shout out, I believe, to I think TJ, who taught his kid how to too sweet.
Parenting Skills 101.
Great job.
Yes.
Great job. I'm excited for the club. I think it's great. It's a faction. I'm all in on factions. I love that shit. And it was fun for me. Like, I was like, this is fucking great, man. This is amazing. And I hope that they find trios to beat. I hope they just... This is a 6-man tag. If it's a faction, I'll get behind a 6-man tag because it makes sense. It's a cohesive unit. It makes everything better. But I was thinking, okay, like you said, it elevates, the good brothers who haven't done anything, and it elevates AJ, who is kind of just like treading water for a long time.
We know how good AJ is.
Yeah,
yes.
But this is like, his confidence goes through the fucking roof with those guys behind him, and that's what he needs. Like in a dog-eat-dog world that is WWE, having your best friends, your boys behind you, just gets you jazzed up, gets you confident. And I could already see a difference in the matchup. I could already see a difference in the promos. I was like, this is the way AJ is perceived, and this is the way that he should be, because he's so fucking good. And Carl and Luke Gallows are motherfucking good too. And they just can't show it because, the WWE machine just passes by.
If we didn't create you, we ain't gonna praise you.
Exactly. Good way to put it.
Yeah.
Good way to put it. So I'm excited for the club. Suit me up. I am too sweeting. I got my club stuff. I'm ready to go, baby. I'm so excited.
I think there's a receptionist outside who needs to be too sweet as we walk out of here.
I don't think she knows how to. Don't bother. She'll just think you're... It's a nice try. Don't do
my
it.
all read everything still doesn't know how to either, but that doesn't stop me from trying.
All right, now we're into the big finish. I mean, there's a lot to talk about, I'm sure, for next week. We'll keep it there. Joe, I appreciate the fact that you were on. It's always fun to have. It's fun to.
This has been a long time coming, good sir, and I really appreciate the olive branch.
Yeah, it's awesome, and like I'm glad that we have this giant jobber knocker family. Now I've got like a whole bullpen of people wanting to be on the podcast, so it's awesome. I'm glad we finally got you on here. But on that note, make sure you go to iTunes, give us a 5-star review, a 5-flame review, as the JC would say. Make sure you follow us at Jobber Knocker on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Make sure you follow all of the Jobber Knocker people on Twitter. There's at Nestlemania, at JC of the JK, at DQ of the JK, at TJ of the JK, at Joe Pollock 47, at Billy D 2411, at The Real Deal B Cox. I believe that's everybody.
At TJ of the JK.
Okay, so there we go. At TJ of the JK. I'm sorry, TJ. You're way better than that, and I apologize.
Are you?
I don't know. It's hard. It's not easy. It's not fucking easy. It's just not.
No, I give you props for giving the shot.
It's not easy. Make sure that you do everything. You listen to us on Podbean, Podomatic, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, YouTube, everywhere in the goddamn sun.
We are everywhere. You need to be on social media.
Why would you do that? You were doing so well. Why? Why?
I'm a habitual line stepper. I always take it too far.
I'm going to smack you.
Yeah, it happens.
JC is going to love it, but I hate it. Anyway.
Well, JC's ears are now blown off, so we don't have to worry about that.
On that note, thank you for listening to the Jobber Knocker. We'll be back next week with more Jobber Knockery.
Too sweet!